The mermaid's tail shimmered as she raised her hand towards Obioma. I gift you with the power to call upon the winds and command the waters, she said, her voice echoing with ancient magic. Obioma felt a strange warmth glow through her body, her hands tingling as if it had touched something otherworldly. Obioma lived a simple life in the village of Umuoma, known for its river that provided fish for the people. She was the daughter of a poor fisherman, and every day she helped her father with his daily catch. Despite their struggle, Obioma remained cheerful and hardworking, often dreaming of a better life. One fateful afternoon, while waiting for her father to return from the river, she noticed something unusual by the shore. A large fishing net was tangled in the river, and it moved as if something inside was struggling. Obioma, ever curious and brave, waded into the water to investigate. To her surprise, she found a creature unlike anything she had ever seen, a mermaid with long shimmering hair and golden tail, trapped and struggling to free herself. The mermaid's eyes, deep and sorrowful, met Obioma's, and she begged for help. Please, release me, young one. I do not belong in this world of men. The mermaid pleaded, her voice a soft melody that floated on the wind. Obioma was hesitant, knowing that mermaids were mysterious creatures, both feared and revered. Yet, the creature's desperation touched her heart. With fearful hands, Obioma untangled the fishing net, freeing the mermaid. As soon as the last strand of rope was removed, the mermaid breathed deeply and stretched her long tail. You have saved me, she said, her voice filled with gratitude. For this, I will grant you a gift of the waters. The mermaid's tail shimmered as she raised her hand towards Obioma. I gift you with the power to call upon the winds and command the waters, she said, her voice echoing with ancient magic. Obioma felt a strange warmth glow through her body, her hands tingling as if it had touched something otherworldly. She didn't quite understand what had happened, but she knew her life was about to change. Before Obioma could ask any questions, the mermaid vanished into the depths of the river, leaving only ripples in her wake. Obioma stood there, staring at the water, unsure of the gratitude of what she had just received. As she made her way back to the village, a light rain began to fall, a gentle reminder of the gift now coursing through her veins. The rain followed Obioma all the way home, a soft drizzle that seemed to dance to her unspoken command. She entered her father's hut, her mind racing with the thoughts of the mermaids and the strange power she now possessed. That night, as she lay on her straw mat, she couldn't help but wonder what this new ability meant for her future. The following morning, Obioma decided to test the mermaid's gift. She walked to a quiet part of the river bank, closed her eyes, and focused. With a gentle wave of her hand, she whispered, Rain. To her astonishment, clouds gathered, and within moments, the sky opened up, releasing a steady downpour. Obioma smiled, realizing the full extent of her power. Hello viewers, please take a second to support this small channel by liking this video and hitting the subscribe button. Thank you so much for your support. It wasn't long before words of Obioma's unfound abilities spread through Umuoma. The villagers marveled at her gift, seeing her as someone chosen by the gods. They began to come to her, asking for rain during times of drought or to calm the waters when the river was too rough for fishing. Obioma obliged, happy to help her people. But as her fame grew, so did the whispers of envy. Some of the village began to question why a poor fisherman's daughter had been granted such powers. Others, especially the elders, warned that with the great power came greater danger. But Obioma remained humble, using her magic only for the good of her village, unaware of the storm of greed brewing around her. Among those who heard of Obioma's abilities was Chief Akadike, a powerful and wealthy man who ruled several neighboring villages. He was known for his greed and the thirst for control, always seeking ways to strengthen his power. When news of Obioma's magical abilities reached him, he saw an opportunity to increase his influence even further. Chief Akadike sent messengers to Umuoma, inviting Obioma to his palace under the pretense of honoring her for her service to the people. Though flattered, Obioma was wary of the chief's intentions. Still, she decided to visit the palace, believing that she could use her power to benefit more people. Little did she know, the chief had dark plans in mind. When Obioma arrived at Chief Akadike's palace, she was gifted with lavish gifts and treated like royalty. The chief praised her for her powers, speaking of how she could bring prosperity to the entire region if she could only stay and serve him. Obioma, however, was uncomfortable with his flattery. She politely declined his offer, saying her duty was to her own village. The chief's smile faded, replaced by a cold, calculating gaze. "Are you sure, young one? Such power should not be wasted on just one village," he said. Obioma stood firm, insisting she could not be controlled. Enraged by her refusal, Chief Akadike vowed to take her powers for himself, no matter the cost. Humiliated by Obioma's rejection, Chief Akadike set his plans into motion. He consulted with his most trusted advisors and a dark sorcerer known for his knowledge of forbidden magic. Together, they devised a scheme to strip Obioma of her powers and transfer them to the chief. The sorcerer warned that it would not be easy, as the mermaid's gift was bound to Obioma's spirit. However, there was one way, a dangerous ritual that would require trapping Obioma and forcing her to give up her magic willingly. The chief, driven by greed, agreed to the plan, not caring what the risk involved. Back in Umuoma, the villagers continued to rely on Obioma's help. She became even more revered as a symbol of hope and prosperity. However, some of the village grew jealous of her influence. Rumors spread that Obioma's powers were unnatural, that she had made pact with dark forces. The envy in their hearts made them blind to the good she had done. The division among the villagers worried Obioma, but she remained focused on her duties. She had no idea that Chief Akadike's men were already lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. One night, as Obioma sat by the river, contemplating the growing tension in her village, she heard a familiar voice. The mermaid who had gifted her the powers appeared once again, her face with grief, her eyes filled with sorrow. "Obioma, you must be careful," the mermaid warned. "There are those who seek to take what's yours. They would stop at nothing to possess the gift I gave you." Obioma listened intently, her heart pounding. "But how can I protect myself?" she asked. The mermaid smiled faintly. "I have a final gift for you, a secret weapon, but it will only reveal itself when you are in your greatest need." With those cryptic words, the mermaid disappeared once more, leaving Obioma with a sense of foreboding. A few days after the mermaid's warning, Chief Akadike's men made their move. Late at night, While the village slept, they sneaked into Obioma's home, ropes and weapon in hand. Obioma was awakened by a strange feeling, her heart racing as if something dark lurked nearby. She sat up in bed. She heard the faint creak of footsteps approaching. Before she could react, the men burst into her hut. They grabbed her, attempting to bind her hands and feet. But Obioma fought back fiercely. Her powers surged instinctively, and with a wave of her hand, water from the river nearby floated into her room, pushing her attackers away. The men, shocked by her power, stumbled out, retreating into the night. Though shaking, Obioma knew this was only the beginning of the chief's attempt to control her. The following morning, word spread quickly of the attempted attack on Obioma. While many villagers sympathized with her, others began to whisper that perhaps she had brought this trouble upon herself by meddling with forbidden powers. Some even suggested that Chief Akadike had the right to claim her abilities, that it would be better for the region if someone of his stature held such power. Obioma could feel the village turning against her. The once warm smiles of her neighbors now felt cold, and some even refused to meet her gaze. As the isolation grew, Obioma realized she could no longer trust everyone in Umuoma. As tension mounted in the village, Chief Akadike arrived in Umuoma under the pretense of concern for Obioma's safety. He gathered the villagers in the square, speaking in a smooth, honeyed voice. "This girl is gifted by the gods," he said, casting his gaze over the crowd. "But such power should not be left in the hands of one so young. It is too great a burden. I offer her protection in my palace, where a gift can be nurtured for the good of all." Some villagers nodded in agreement, while others remained silent, conflicted. Obioma, standing at the back of the crowd, knew that this was no offer of protection. This was just a thinly veiled threat. But what worried her more was the growing number of people willing to believe the chief's lies. Unknown to the villagers, Chief Akadike had brought with him the dark sorcerer who had devised the ritual to steal Obioma's power. The sorcerer, a man with deep-set eyes and a menacing presence, lurked in the shadows, preparing for the final stage of the chief's plan. His magic was old and dangerous, drawing on forces that were not meant to be trifled with. The sorcerer warned the chief that the ritual would need to be performed in the heart of the river, the source of Obioma's power. They would have to lure her there, entrap her within a sacred circle. Only then could the ritual succeed. The chief, eager to see his plan through, ordered his men to prepare. Chief Akadike invited Obioma to a feast in her honor, hoping to lure her into his trap. Though suspicious of his intentions, Obioma knew that refusing the invitation would make her look even more defiant. She decided to attend, but with a plan of her own. The mermaid's warning echoed in her mind, reminding her that there was still one final gift she had yet to discover. As she approached the palace that evening, Obioma noticed something strange. The chief's men were stationed near the river, their eyes fixed on her every movement. She could feel the tension in the air, as though the land itself sensed the danger she was walking into. The feast was grand, with tables piled high with food and drink. Chief Akadike sat at the head of the table, smiling warmly at Obioma as she entered. "Welcome, my dear," he said, gesturing to her to sit beside him. "Tonight we celebrate your power and your place among us." Obioma could see through the chief's false kindness. As the night wore on, she noticed the sorcerer standing at a distance, his dark eyes never leaving her. She realized this was it. The moment the chief would make his move, she needed to be ready. Just as the feast was winding down, the chief stood and raised his hand, signaling his men. Obioma, he said, his voice dripping with insincerity. There is one more thing we must do to ensure your safety and the safety of our land. Come with me to the river, where we shall complete a ceremony to honor your gift. Obioma felt her heart race, but she remained calm. Of course, Chief, she said, standing to follow him. As they made their way to the river, she saw the sorcerer moving closer, his hands waving strange symbol in the air. The trap was about to be sprung. At the river bank, the chief's men quickly formed a circle around Obioma, their spears gleaming in the moonlight. The sorcerer stepped forward, his voice low and sinister as he began to chant in an ancient tongue. Obioma could feel the magic pressing down on her, tightening like a noose. But just as the ritual was about to begin, Obioma closed her eyes and reached deep within herself. The mermaid's final gift, the secret weapon, was there, waiting for her to unlock it. In that crisis moment, Obioma's power surged like never before. Her connection to the waters deepened, and she could feel the waters responding to her call. With a wave of her hand, the waters rose up in great waves, crashing into the circle and scattering the chief's men like leaves in the wind. The sorcerer's chant faltered as he was swept away by the force of the water. Chief Akadike, drenched and panicked, tried to flee, but Obioma stood tall, her eyes glowing with the full power of the mermaid's gifts. "You cannot take what is not yours," she said, her voice echoing like thunder. Chief Akadike, realizing that his plan had failed, fell to his knees, begging for mercy. "Spare me, Obioma," he pleaded, his arrogance gone. "I was blinded by greed." Obioma stared at him, her heart conflicted. Though he tried to steal her power, she was not one to seek revenge. Instead, she commanded the waters to recede, leaving the chief shivering and humiliated on the shore. "You will leave this place," she said firmly, "and you will never seek to harm me or my village again." Chief Akadike, defeated and broken, nodded in submission and fled into the night, his men following closely behind. When Obioma returned to the village, the people were waiting for her. Word had spread quickly of her victory over the chief and his sorcerer. The villagers, once divided, now rallied around her, grateful for the protection she had provided. They cheered and celebrated, recognizing her not just as a gifted girl, but as a protector of the village. Obioma, now exhausted, smiled warmly at her people. She had proven to herself and the village that her power was not a curse but a blessing, one that she would use wisely. Late that night, Obioma returned to the river where she had first met the mermaid. As she stood by the river, the mermaid appeared once more, her smile serene. "You have done well, Obioma," the mermaid said. "You have proven that you are worthy of the gift I gave you." Obioma thanked the mermaid for her kindness, but asked, "Will I ever see you again?" The mermaid shook her head. "My time in this world is done. You no longer need me, for the power now lies fully within you. Remember, Obioma, that true strength comes not from magic, but from the heart." With those final words, the mermaid disappeared into the depths, leaving Obioma with a sense of peace. The end. Please like, comment, and share. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more interesting stories like this.